Key elements of the far right is its understanding of myth, and in this regard we're talking about a myth that of the clash of civilizations, so-called, that goes back 1,000 years to the Crusades, and of course the Knights Templar were themselves heavily involved in the Crusades.
This was somebody who saw the idea of presenting himself as a Templar knight, you know, as almost entering this world of fantasy, but at the same time reflecting quite a long tradition within the extreme right subculture.
Either way, this is how Breivik apparently sees himself, as a crusader.
He's described himself as a cultural Christian, and I think that perhaps a more appropriate term might be crusading Christianism. In the same way that we talk about jihadi Islamism, we're really identifying a political doctrine that takes on, as it were, the veneer of religious faith.
It's noon on Monday. Breivik is driven to Oslo's main courthouse for his first hearing. Hundreds gather outside, straining for a glimpse of the killer. It seems the whole world is watching. In a close hearing, a statement from Breivik is read aloud.
Målet med attentatet var å gi et kraftig signal til folket.
Any person with a conscience cannot allow its country to be colonized by Muslims. End of quote.
The argument now is really about the cultural compatibility of Muslims as the far right sees it. They would argue that Muslims are simply incompatible with European values, that they undermine women's rights, that they undermine the rights of homosexual communities, that they undermine ways of life and values and the national communities within Europe.
As Breivik is driven back to his cell, cameras are able to capture the first glimpse of him since the killings. A man still refusing to accept he has committed a crime, looking at ease, possibly even pleased with himself. The pressing question now is whether Breivik was acting alone.
Kjempeskada. Skikkelig her borte. Skikkelig hås.
In a matter of 3 hours, a homegrown terrorist brought unprecedented fear and grief to the heart of Norway. The mastermind of a twin attack that many see as Oslo's 9/11. First, he ravaged the city center, killing 8 people with a massive homemade car bomb. Then, he gunned down 69 young people at a summer retreat on a beautiful island. All this, the work of one disturbed mind. The mind of Anders Breivik. He appears to enjoy the notoriety that comes from being public enemy #1 as he leaves an Oslo courtroom just 72 hours after the massacre. There's no sign of remorse, just smug satisfaction.
Well, I think he would have enormous satisfaction. He's achieved what he wanted.
The entire country is in mourning for the 77 lives lost. Memorials and makeshift shrines spring up in the wake of the tragedy.
We will not be intimidated or threatened by these attacks. The aim of such attacks is to spread fear and panic. We will not let that happen.
I would like to quote one of our comrades who said, if one person can create so much hate, then just imagine how much love we can share together. He might have been more violent than us, but our ideas are better, and it is our ideas that will prevail and will win, I'm sure.
Breivik's hearing brings to light two important facts. First, that Breivik had in fact come to the government's attention back in March 2011, when he tried to buy chemicals on the internet from Poland. Second, the court discloses the fact that Breivik had spoken about two other cells, raising the possibility of further attacks. Breivik boasts in particular about his connections with militant anti-Islamic groups in Britain.
There is certainly compelling evidence that Breivik looked toward groups like the English Defence League. If not in ideological terms, certainly in strategic terms, in this notion of operating outside of the ballot box, presenting a more confrontational, provocative style of politics.
Given his narcissistic bent, Breivik may have longed for a following like the English Defence League. He emailed his manifesto to over 6,000 people. One can only imagine how large his audience is now.
He was trying to offer a brand to sections of the European far right. This was a guy that wasn't only explaining what was wrong with the world as he saw it, but he was leaving behind a detailed blueprint for any would-be successors or would-be copycat attackers.
So it's a document that sets out to explain why he's behaving in the way that he's going to behave, but it's also a document that's been heavily plagiarized from other extreme right-wing sources.
One of these sources is the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, whose 20-year mail bombing spree killed 3 people and injured 23 others.
Kaczynski and Breivik were both people who saw themselves as masterminds of a revolution. They saw the world going in the wrong direction, in Kaczynski's case because of technology, in Breivik's case because of immigration and diversity in Norway. But in both cases, they saw themselves as the people who were going to stop this through a violent act.
Other observers feel he has more in common with Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh, who became a cult figure for the extreme right.
One of the parallels that has been drawn by commentators, I think, is that to Timothy McVeigh, not just the choice of weaponry in his bombing, but also the indiscriminate nature of choosing a target, and whoever's there on that day is going to be killed.
No matter why Breivik committed this horror, no matter his influences, the end result is the same: a senseless tragedy paid for in innocent lives.
We simply have to deal with Breivik as a spree killer, as somebody who committed horrific, horrendous acts. We treat him as an offender. Let's not elevate his celebrity, nor turn him into some kind of martyr.
The most immediate impact is on the victims' families and the Norwegian people themselves, the ones left behind to mourn.
What is the most awful thing that you can do to someone? Probably kill their children and leave them alive to grieve over it.
I can hardly believe that I witnessed executions of young people, innocent civilians, who were on a camp to learn more about politics and have fun. It's unbelievable. And you all just want to wake up from this nightmare, but you never do.
As a person, you have to move on and look forward and start, at some point, living like a normal life again.
The island of Utoya is now known as a place where young lives were tragically lost. It is also a place where Norway's lost souls will forever be remembered.
I'm sure that next year's camp will be the biggest ever. We're taking that place back.